Gee.
Penuel, it's been a while, my friend, hey?
Welcome to the Penuel show, man. I think this was a long time coming. It was always inevitable that you're going to be here. I guess it was just a matter of when. And I'm glad that it's sooner rather than later.
No, I'm good to be here. I think, you've all got a lot to share. A bit controversial, getting banned on social media and all sorts of things, but some things need to be said.
You wanted to ask me something. I said you must ask it on camera.
Why were you banned on Twitter?
Okay. I actually don't think I've answered this. And I'm hoping by the time this episode airs that Elon Musk will have done the most. Shout out to all the Pretoria boys. You guys must champion for me to get back. So ex-President Thabo Mbeki 2022 has been doing this thing of going around giving his opinions on various things. COVID being one, he raised his thoughts around HIV/AIDS again. One of the things he said was, contrary to popular belief, most crimes are committed by South Africans and not foreigners. So one of my mentors, Ukandani Msibi, went and he retweeted that and he said, obviously, there's a lot of South Africans by far, so it would hold. Tongue in cheek, I responded to that saying, it's like saying most crimes are committed by black people. Hate speech. Permanently suspended. My Twitter's gone.
Okay, most crimes are committed by black people in the black country.
Of course.
It's common sense.
It's hate speech.
Is it?
According to Twitter.
Okay, so how do you describe that term in a way that's politically correct?
Who the hell knows? You know, one of the things So my favorite and my worst social media platform is Facebook. I was on Facebook when it came out, when Mark Zuckerberg and them were literally starting, I think it was 2005 or somewhere then. I've been a fan of Facebook ever since. I've grown with it, etc. But as they've become more strict and the algorithms have become crazy, I've probably been punished the most of all the people I know. I think in 2021, every other month I was banned for 30 days. So I was only on for like 6 months in total, because the other 6 months I was off. One of the things I said was, what if when Facebook bans someone, they put like a banner on your profile?
Say banned.
Gerald Mwandiambira has been suspended for 7 days because he posted this. Number one, for everyone to see, oh, so I can't say that. I can't post this. So now you're warning people. But number two, in my case, I want people to see how ridiculous it is. The reasons that we get suspended for on some of these platforms. Will it ever happen? I don't know. If Twitter, for example, is like, @Penuel has been suspended permanently because he posted this, and allow people, I think this would be pretty dope, allow people to appeal on my behalf with reasons of why they think it's actually an unfair sentence.
So if you say something not nice about anyone of any color, hate speech.
Even if you are of that color yourself, and it's something that is statistically factual.
Can you say the N-word on Twitter, I wonder? Can you try? Maybe you should try. I'm not going to do it.
No, you can definitely do that. You know
the N-word on Twitter.
you know the hypocrisy of social media, and I don't want to speak about this because I don't want this episode taken down, because I've come to respect that these platforms, we don't own them. They have their own rules. Kanye West, in being cancelled in various platforms for some of the things he said, was pointing out that the people that have cancelled me have no issues when my people make music, say things of a violent nature regarding drugs, etc. But as soon as you say anything supposedly factual about them, all of a sudden it's a huge issue.
Then we're going to be banned today, my friend, because we...
Are you here to drop bombs?
I'm here to drop bombs, man.
Definitely not dropping this episode. Jeez.
Yes, it's going to be a problem, because the same people who ban everyone fool us. And the way they work when it comes to money is, I call them they. So I've got a show called What They Don't Want You to Know About Money. They. You must ask yourself, who is they? They is often a system. It's a mindset. It's people who want you to keep you under subjugation and not to open your eyes and be aware. Okay. They is your school teacher. It's your headmaster. It's your principal. Those people who told you, Penuel, you'll never amount to anything, Wena. You're going to be a failure. They is sometimes your family. Those in your family who like being the rich malume. And he won't tell you guys how he actually makes his money.
Of course.
He doesn't want you to know. They could be the slave queens who bring you down because they want your money, but they don't respect how it's earned. The number one problem and the number one myth which we've all been tricked into is that money should not be respected. We've lost respect for money. And the moment you lose respect for money, you're going to be a slave for the rest of your life. Because money needs respect, because money is a tool which you must master so that you can actually put others into slavery.
Put others into slavery.
Yeah, that's what happens. Money is a capitalist tool. There's a master and a slave. And money works that way. That's how money flows, from masters to slaves, or slaves earn money for their masters. So the one thing which the world has tried to make us forget is us as Africans, we believed in what we called our commonwealth. And our African commonwealth system was simple. Whatever your surname was, you lived in a village, everyone in the family had a role, but the cows belonged to everyone. The granary belonged to everyone. There were soldiers who did the protecting. There was a hut where there was a traditional healer or doctor and medicine person who could heal pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Our food was natural and organic. And there was a hut where Umama Lo was known for making the best meals.
Sure.
And there was order. And then they came and messed up the system. And then whenever they come, they mess up a system in such a way that they confuse. So now when you think of the word Commonwealth, you think of a grouping of nations which is headed by the King or Queen of England.
King Charles.
Yeah, King Charles.
So Ramaphosa's mate.
Okay, so the issue there is this. They created the Commonwealth so that they could deal with their white guilt. Okay?
Okay.
We're going to make all you countries independent because we think it's the right thing. It's time for you to be independent. And you can all still be our friends and stay in this group called the Commonwealth. It was done to blindfold all those countries into forgetting that they were looted and raped and pillaged.
Independence was given. You know, I asked this because you always hear this thing, or there's a quote that says something along, you can never be given freedom. It can only ever be taken, or you can just exist in it.
No.
So if you're given an independence, what does that actually mean?
I'm done with you. It means I'm done with you. You've served your purpose. You know, Iskorobo, and Iskorobo is old. You throw it away.
Is this similar to slavery in America? Do you
Same
believe
thing.
The reason they were given freedom?
They were given freedom
Abraham Lincoln?
because, you know, the system evolved to another form of slavery. But in essence, slavery you can only be emancipated when the one who was holding you no longer requires you. So even the one who does the emancipation law is the same person who was holding you in bondage. Okay? So that's the problem with money. We've all been tricked into thinking that, firstly, that it's easy to manage. Secondly, that we can also master it as easily as they did.
Yeah.
No, they had a head start. If I come and I steal money from you or steal wealth from you, and then I say, let's shake hands, let's forget about the theft. But from now on, we're equal.
Yeah.
Will we ever really be equal?
It's impossible.
It's impossible. And that's the one thing which probably the African continent is only waking up to now, that we were never equal. And the moment you speak about how our commonwealth was stolen to create their commonwealth, it's a problem. The poorest person in the United Kingdom lives a pretty decent lifestyle. Their base of living is that high because of wealth, which was not from that island, but from everywhere else. And we need to start organizing ourselves into realizing that the only way you make money is when you commonly gather with purpose and intent to make money.
Let's take a step back. Gerald Mwandiambira. your background, please, for the benefit of the viewers.
Hey, grew up in Zim.
Zimbabweans are taking over this podcast.
Oh, wow. Well done.
Must actually call Aaron Mutweledi and Operation Tutula and tell them the Penuel show's been infiltrated.
Hey, guys. So what we
grew up in Zim. Sorry.
Yeah, I grew up in Zim. Yeah, and I was sold the dream, the British dream of you're going to get a good education in one of our schools, learn the Queen's language, and you're going to probably work for a bank or somebody. So I was okay with that. I was happy with that.
Zimbabwe still has the best education system on the continent.
Debatable if the schools are there, but it's debatable. I think at that time it was definitely true. A good 20, 30 years on, I'm not so sure. But the fact remains that I grew up in a system where I was being molded to be an employee.
Sure.
And I was being molded to fit into the system.
Do you believe that, because my understanding of Zim's education system is for the longest time it was the best. Do you believe it was the best from a Western perspective or best from even the people's perspective, that you guys are like, we were actually really educated and empowered?
It was the best in that they fed us what we were supposed to be fed, which was the information which they taught us about monocotyledon, dicotyledons. They taught me about deoxyribonucleic acid. They taught me about Latin. Amo, amas, amant, I'm a batis, I'm a band. I could speak French. Yes, they taught us from their perspective.
Yeah.
But we didn't know who we are. By the time you finished that schooling system, you didn't know what Zimbabwe means.
Yeah.
We didn't know how the country was even liberated. We didn't even know who its leaders were. Yeah. We were just hamsters in a system and we were ready to work.
Sure.
And then there was disruption.
Okay.
And the biggest disruptor in anyone's life is called poverty. Once you have lack, your mind pops like a popcorn. And suddenly you need to make a plan. So that's when people left the country, left, right, and center to UK, US, South Africa, because they had to just go somewhere. And
what caused the poverty?
Greed. Corruption.
Sanctions?
No.
Not sanctions?
No. There was no sanctions. It was greed. Okay. And we're getting a similar situation here. I think they call them military veterans.
Yes.
Yeah, they did the same thing in Zim. The government one year decided, well, there was two actual events which led to the collapse of the Zim economy. The government went to help out a sister country in a war called the DRC.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's debatable, but the word on the street is that the country was supposed to be paid for its services, because I'm not going to send my expensive toys to help you. But the money was never repatriated into treasury. Most of the military equipment was destroyed, and the biggest item on the budget for many years and forever in Zim has been defense. So that eroded wealth instantly, obviously, which never was repaired. And also the military vets went and decided that they wanted payouts, and they got paid a lot of money, and that kind of
that's the one reason.
Well, it's one of the reasons, a lot. And then obviously there's Western media as well. So it's not just Western media doesn't like it when we take our power back.
Yeah.
Whether be it for wealth purposes or in any way when a black person is about to be on top of their game, it's about the time they fall.
Why do you think we don't have true African media? And even if we do, why is African media not strong enough to counter external media?
Because we don't like reading about ourselves. But we don't like reading. We've been made into dummies. We don't like to consume knowledge. We don't want to learn. We've been disabled mentally and physically. Okay, so they've taken away our eyes.
Yeah.
So we only see what they want us to see.
Jeez.
So you will see Facebook, you will see TikTok, but you won't see the Wall Street Journal. You won't see the Bloomberg Channel. You won't see MSN, because you think it's not interesting. But if you go into those platforms, I can tell you what's going to happen next year by watching that.
Yeah.
But they want us to see things which are not going to emancipate us financially. You're not going to gain. Okay, a few guys might get 4 million followers, but most of you are just seeing.
True.
Okay, they've taken zombies. Same thing. They've taken away our ears. They've taken away our ears because we don't find things which are healthy to listen to.
Sure.
Okay, the music we listen to, yes, is by us, for us, but
the content
is not building.
It's nowhere.
Sure. It's about one guy who knows, if I make all you guys listen to my music, I'll be okay.
Sure.
Good luck, all of you.
You guys are just escaping through my music from your misery and poverty.
Exactly. So there's no commonality. There's nothing common about the guy who's making the rap with the guys who are listening,
So you in Zim, you in Zim, you study there, you said something changed your life, disrupted your life, being poverty.
Yeah.
I disrupted your story, sorry.
Yeah, poverty, man. We were okay, man. We had a car, we had a decent house. I went to a private school.
Come on, boy.
And then life was good. It was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay.
Yeah.
But this thing called inflation, it creeps up on you. So every year you're getting poorer. So, on Sundays, I remember we used to have breakfast as a family around the table, and that's when we'd have eggs and sausages, and you choose what you want to eat. Then that goes. It's no longer every week, it's now at Christmas, kind of thing. And then you're like, okay, I can see things be changing around here. And
I'm just thinking in my head, every Sunday, 2 sausages to 1 sausage.
Yeah.
3 eggs to 2 eggs.
Yeah.
Now only the adults eat the eggs. You could just have a sausage. Now, no.
Yeah.
No meat for the kids. You guys can just have.
You know the story. One day having pap and meat and muriwo. Next day the meat goes on holiday. It's just the fat of the meat.
Just the fat and the soup.
You cook the meat, but you don't throw away the fat. You got to keep the fat in the fridge. Sure. Because the next time you cook muriwo, you got to put the fat there to have the pretend meat.
Of course.
When you're now drinking mazoe and bread, oros and bread, that's your daily diet.
Mazoe is the Zimbabwean oros, basically.
Yeah. So I guess the decline in standard of living started making everyone start thinking of where else can we be?
Yeah.
And that's my journey. Ended up, but by that time I was working for a bank, I think, and
in Zim.
Okay. Yeah, good job, guys.
Yeah.
My first car was a Gushesh at 18.
Jeez.
Yeah, Zim was the spot, dude.
From high school, you went straight to work for a bank.
And within 6 months...
Good life in Zim.
Within 6 months, I was driving a BM. I was sitting in the executive dining room. I was the youngest guy, and I was really on top of my game. And then things crumbled, man. The economy tanked. And then we scurried off different countries, went to the UK. I persevered, stayed within finance. And I'm still in financial. And I've ended up in this space. But my main message is really around... how can we as Black people start empowering each other and understanding that we can create a different financial system? Just because it's there doesn't mean it's right, nor does it mean it's the best, nor does it mean there's no alternative.
Okay.
They have taken away our minds to think alternatives. They have taken us to a space where we just have to conform. And I like us to start thinking those kinds of thoughts. How can we change the system for us? How is it that 2% of South Africans own 98% of its wealth? How? Why can't the 98% get together and say, you know what, Pen, there must be a better way of doing this. There must be another way of empowering each other. And I've done it in another interview. Wealth is created. The money will not finish. Wealth is created. If I take a tree, I cut it down and I make a chair. Okay? And I sell that chair. And someone buys it. I've created wealth.
Sure.
Even if I go and I buy a piece of wood for 10 rand, make a chair and sell it for 100 rand, where did the 90 rand come from? You made it.
Yes.
So we need to open our minds, let that pop, let those brains pop like popcorn so that we start realizing how can we do things differently so that our eyes see what can empower us, our ears hear what can empower us, our mouths speak words that build. We are the most hateful race ever. Black people are black. Hence, they can call it black magic, evil bunch. Blackness is known with and associated with witchcraft and nasty stuff, blackmail, blacklist, because they said black, Negro. The Negroid race. But who made us black? We accepted being black. We've always been black and we were fine with it. But when we started taking their narrative of what blackness is to them, then became the problem. So we have a self-hate problem. Number one problem in the black nation worldwide. Doesn't matter whether in America or in South Africa or in Zimbabwe or the UK, we just hate ourselves. But this hate is because we've been told to hate ourselves and taught to hate ourselves. Okay? And then you say, okay, but how can we change that narrative? Let's change the story. Let's create media which starts selling positive black stories. Have you watched black movies?
Tyler Perry.
Yeah, most of them. No, Tyler Perry is cool. He's kind of safe. But you know, most of the movies were gangsters, drugging, New Jack City, Nino Brown, you know what I'm saying? Our hero, he's just drugging our whole community, but he's our hero, you know what I mean? And all our soapies were either drug dealers or involved in things which generally are not wholesome.
Someone has actually pointed out that a lot of the South African black soapies, drama series,
there's nothing positive.
The powerful families are all in one way or another involved.
They're all criminals.
In criminal
the only
activities.
Positive South African soapy is Generations. Or it used to be. I don't watch it anymore.
Used to be, yeah.
Used to be. It was a media company owned by black people wearing suits and ties. Yeah. And everybody says, I want to work in an office like that and own my own company.
There was one before that one years ago, Ifala Kamthethwa. Similar as well. So, yeah.
So we have very few positive black stories, so we just accept. We accept. News Media 24, who own most of the media in South Africa, closed magazines. Most of the black titles were closed. We never complained. They closed Drum. They closed
Drum?
Yeah, no, Drum is closed. It's just online now. Go buy a copy of Drum. Where are you going to get it?
I remember Kanye Dlomo, she's remarried. She had a big brand which somehow collapsed as well. I don't know if it was
Destiny.
Was it Destiny?
Yeah.
It was under the same stable.
Yeah. So to me, I don't
Destiny
know.
And Destiny.
I can't answer the question of how can we just start loving ourselves first. Starts there. Then we'll start seeing and hearing things differently. We'll start speaking words of edification. Our hands will also start doing things that are positive.
Yeah.
Hug your children. Don't slap them and quarter them and grab shamboks and show them how to be disciplined.
Yeah.
Fathers, when was the last time you hugged your child? Mothers, when was the last time you hugged? But when was the last time you clapped someone? Yeah, you remember that. You know what I mean? So our hands have also been taken away.
Yeah.
Because our hands have been taught to work for them. So if they don't call us to come work, our hands will be waiting for work. Okay? They've stolen those as well. They've stolen our kneecaps and our feet so that we don't move. We don't walk. We don't see the world. One of the reasons which those nations, the English, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Germans, the kingdoms got rich.
The French. Don't forget the French.
Oh, yeah, the French, definitely. They traveled. We've been taught to stay put.
True.
The only time we travel is when we're hung up and strung up in a slave ship.
We don't celebrate travel as a race. We don't glorify travel as a thing that needs to be done naturally.
No. So the best thing you can do right now, if you're black and you're watching this, is apply for a passport, please, and start using it. You know, that's one of the weaknesses of South Africa, and that's why there's so much Zeno.
Yeah, because people don't travel.
Hey, they don't know what exists beyond the... Heck, they don't know more. I've met South Africans who don't know, who've never been to Durban.
To Joburg. And they fear coming to Johannesburg. As someone who comes from KZN.
Now think of, what do you think? Do you think we're not scared when we cross a border to go to another country? Do you think that people are just like, yay, we're going? No. It's the scariest experience. When I was 21, jumping onto a plane, going to a different country where I know no one, I don't know what they eat. It's scary. But that's how also wealth is created, by traveling.
Sure.
Money knows no borders.
Yes.
Okay, so the reason why we don't know how much money they stole from Africa is because we've never been to their countries.
To see our wealth there.
Hey, go see that little island called UK. You cry. Little island, rocks. They don't even have animals. But the wealth, scary.
We used to be a traveling people. If you think of
as Africans, we were.
Just from a natural perspective, you'd always go to fertile earth, always go to where the water's flowing.
We were nomads.
But now it's like you're stuck, and it's almost like you're frowned upon for even moving.
Yeah, you're frowned upon for even suggesting you want to move.
Yeah, to fertile earth. And fertile earth obviously is where you can make money.
So that's another concept of money pen.
Yeah.
In order to understand money travel, once you've traveled, you get perspective. Once you have perspective, you get vision. When you get vision, you can get a mission. When you get a mission, you can do it. Now, if you don't travel, you will sit and consume what's fed to you. The narrative is not under your control. Am I saying everyone must leave South Africa? No, I'm just saying that be aware.
Sure.
And also, we need to embrace and also start understanding those who have traveled, why they came. Some of them it's real poverty, and a lot of foreigners are doing good in this country. But there's a lot of bad.
Yes.
I'm not taking that away.
Sure.
Okay, but we just need to understand, put yourself in their shoes, going to a scary place, they don't know language, they don't speak, they're talking about you, you know, and you know, it's not all pap and flays. It's not all rosy.
I've been attacked on social media for trying to create the analogy of traveling from one province to another, or from a village to a city. So I'm from Newcastle in KwaZulu-Natal. I came to Joburg, fertile earth. And to what you're saying about opportunities, if you look at a lot of the people that are making money in small towns, it's because they've traveled to the big cities, seen ideas, brought them back home, or when we speak import-export, they literally go and buy from a China city, wholesalers in the cities into the villages, which is, if you just broaden your mind, it's the same thing that happens when you travel across borders. So when I made that example, and I remember Helen Zille was dragged for saying South Africans are economic migrants. She was speaking about people from the Eastern Cape, from Limpopo, from Mpumalanga, from KZN, and even from the Free State that travel to these big cities looking for a better life. And it's like, but guys, if you're going to tell, I got dragged for this. My views on xenophobia and those things are alternative. We'll discuss them another day. But I was saying, to get into the mindset of understanding why someone would even illegally move to another place, it's because they want a better life. That's the reason why you're not where you grew up. Because one of the arguments was, why don't they go and fix their home? Why don't Zimbabweans go fix Zimbabwe? Why are you here? And I'm like, but you're from a small village in the Eastern Cape. Why are you not going to fix your village? It's the exact same mindset. But obviously I got dragged.
I think, you're defining, firstly, your definition of people buying things, selling them in another place, or people getting ideas from another place. That's called international trade.
It is.
That is what international trade is. No one has ever questioned why Mercedes-Benz builds cars in East London. No one has ever questioned why Ford is building cars in Mamelodi. No one has ever questioned why BMW, a German company, is building cars in Pretoria and Roslyn. No one questions that.
Why don't you go home? Sort it out at home.
Why don't they build their own cars in their own country? We embrace that. You know?
Sure.
So why is it a problem when a Somalian opens a spaza? Because that space where that spaza is open has always been there. You know? It goes back to the Commonwealth. Let's go back there. Let's go back to the Commonwealth of the township economy.
Before you speak about the Commonwealth, the counter argument to what you're saying about they stole our minds and our hands and our labor.
Opportunities.
No, it's the fact that your Mercedes-Benz, your BMW, they create jobs. So people are like, but at least they bring jobs. So that becomes the counter argument. Please continue with the Commonwealth.
Okay. Well, to me, let's go back to basics.
Yeah.
Okay. In this room, there's 5 of us, right?
Sure.
And if 5 of us don't have enough to buy a mic so that we can do the podcast,
yeah,
how could we do it if each one of us individually can't? We put money together and we say, okay, guys, let's go buy a mic, and we put it together.
Yeah.
Our self-hate has led to self-distrust. I've spoken about it before and I'll continue to speak about it. We don't trust blackness ourselves.
Sure.
We don't. We don't trust black professionals. We don't trust black teachers. We don't trust black pilots. Are you understanding?
Imagine, with good reason.
Imagine if every flight, Kulula, the guy came out and you saw a black guy.
You'd fasten your belts tighter and tell your family, hey, look, please make sure my life insurance is sorted.
So that's the thing.
But with good reason. And I'm not saying it's...
What's the good reason?
So going back to the genesis of where we started, you spoke about they.
They.
And how they came in and they disrupted our way of living. And in disrupting it, they taught us certain things and they told us certain narratives. And they took away our eyes. And I wanted to add that they took away our tongues because we don't even tell our own stories anymore.
No, we don't.
So because of that, the only things we would see, the only things we would hear are stories of... Again, you made examples of the movies that we watch where black people are criminals. Look at your politicians, they corrupt. Look at it. So it only holds that for an average person, you would think like that. So when someone says, Gerald wants you guys to work together, you're like, Gerald, that's a white person's surname. Is it a white person? No, it's a black guy. You're like, no, I'm not interested. I know how black people are. They corrupt. They steal.
And the thing about it also, my name is Chimonoro.
Oh, Gerald is your slave name. Jeez. So Chimonoro.
And the reason why I stick to Gerald or Mr. G is because the slave names come off our tongues much easier.
Oh, boy.
Just like the Xhosa names, you just end up calling yourself No.
Yes.
When you ask the name, it's Noma Gugulala Labora. Yes. You know what I mean? No, so...
It's to accommodate the Western tongue.
Can we stop? I think we need... I don't know it all, but we need... black intellect to start coming back together and come up with alternative theories to the theories which we've been told are the ones which run the world as we know it. Okay? We need black economics. We need a black perspective. And by black economics, Pen, I'm not saying let black people pretend to be white and do what the white people are doing.
Yeah.
I'm saying we need an alternative.
Is it possible to be a black intellectual without being able to speak a colonial language?
Yes and no. The thing about the colonial language is that in our native languages, there's some things we don't even have words for.
Or we used to, we don't know.
Or we've forgotten the words.
Sure.
Because we've been assimilated completely. So we need an alternative theory. The richest man who's ever lived on the planet Earth, and this is widely acknowledged.
It's widely acknowledged.
Is a black man. Okay? He was called Mensa. He was a king.
Mansa Musa.
Mensa Musa, yes. He was a king from Mali. And he once went on a pilgrimage to Mecca. Okay, and he gave, everywhere he went, he'd give someone gold. And not a gold coin pen, gold bar.
Boom.
Boom, yeah.
He was making it rain.
Yo, he made it rain. They said that when Mensa Musa passed through Egypt, he bankrupted the Egyptian economy. Because every poor person he saw, he gave them gold. Now, how does an economy function? An economy, let's go back to the history. The word economia, Latin root, means the study of lack. You cannot have an economy if someone is not lacking.
Yeah.
Because he cancelled the lack in Egypt, he bankrupted the economy because money could not flow. Money typically flows from someone who is wealthy to someone who is poor, or from someone who's poor or someone who is wealthy. There's that diffusive movement of money that is necessary for an economy to exist. The moment you find an equilibrium, you cannot have an economy. And the system needs that to survive. So we've also been taught, forget about your brother, forget about your sister, rise, climb that mountain, pull the ladder, keep the economy going.
You've got my head spinning, yes?
That's why they hated our Commonwealth in Africa. Shaka Zulu. We were fine. Vibrant economies which were trading with each other, but they were not built on lack. Our economies were built on wealth.
Abundance.
It's called the richesse in French. Our African economic model was built on wealth. Giving birth to more wealth and giving birth to more wealth. So we had a totally different spin on how we see money.
Sure.
And then they came and said, no. We come from a place where there's lords and there's paupers. Who are the lords around here? And then they gathered all the lords and then they started teaching them their ways.
Of course.
So that's the whole point. Alternative thinking is all we need, Pen. We can turn around our countries, turn around everything, but we don't want it. We don't love ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. We don't embrace ourselves. We don't travel. We don't see. We don't speak. We don't hear. I do a lot of talks. And in my talks, one of the questions I ask the audience, is close your eyes. Pen. Close your eyes. Imagine your perfect home. Can you describe it?
Must I describe it?
Yeah, your perfect house.
My perfect home is a 10-hectare plot with small units, functional units for myself and for my children.
Okay. In your functional unit with yourself and your children, are there rooms in there?
Definitely.
Which is your favorite room?
Oof, I'm such a bad example for this exercise. I'm a minimalist, so I believe in using up all the rooms that I have. But my favorite would definitely be my study and where I consume information.
Okay. This is the right answer. Okay, you can open your eyes.
Thank you.
You gave the right answer. Most people tell you about the mansion, east wing, west wing.
Of course, lots
favorite
of rooms.
Room is always kitchen or
TV entertainment room.
Or for the indoors, bedroom.
Of course.
Because they're bedroom bullies.
Man cave, outside where I host pool parties.
They never describe and talk what you described. A library.
Yeah, no, I'm bad for this exercise.
A repository of information. Funny thing.
Or maybe even a workshop. My favorite room is my workshop where I build things.
The favorite room of most people of color is a room where no knowledge is acquired.
Where they escape.
Where they escape into someone else's knowledge. Because for me to make a movie, I'm actually playing with your mind because it's all in my mind. Coming to your mind and taking your money for that purpose. And when you watch their movies, they make it clear which the most important room is, eh? Especially if you watch any shows where money is involved.
Sure.
They're always in a study.
Always in a study or the office.
Gold-lettered books and what behind them. And they're talking money.
Yeah.
But when we see those movies, we don't actually see that's where the power lies.
Sure.
Problem we have, I was talking to someone today, is the internet also is being used to kill knowledge.
Of course.
Because before the internet, you had to read. And because you had to read, you had to keep consuming. Because you'd read one book and it's finished. You read another and it's finished. Now, try and look up good information on the internet. You'll have pop-ups, TikTok, slay queens.
Endless garbage on tap. Just swipe.
On tap.
Just swipe. It doesn't stop. It doesn't end.
And you just become a zombie.
Yeah.
So again, let's start increasing knowledge about ourselves. And I remember I was reading an article the other day about some black doctor in the UK who's winning prizes for the most simple thing.
Yeah.
He's a dermatologist. And was reading in the books, and all the books say the symptom of this disease is reddish pink nodule. Then you saw one thing like, but guys, this whole book, all the skin here is white.
Yes.
So how can I, as a black doctor, treat pen? Maybe you're not the right example.
I'm definitely the right example.
A dark black guy like me. Now you're looking for pink nodules and pink what. Sure. No, it's not going to happen. All he did was he took pictures of black people with the same illnesses and gave the symptoms of a black person. I understand the entire medical field still studies white skin and white descriptions of illnesses and symptoms. Hence, they can't treat black people most times.
I need to come up with like a signal to ask my guests to wrap up so I can come in, because I've been accused of interrupting. You know, when I look at the import and export business, international trade, one of the things I tell people is you don't have to invent anything new, and you do not have to solve huge problems. If you look at the spaza shop industry, if you look at the taxi industry, it's literally for many people. Let's speak about the spaza shop because that's easy. A new squatter camp, an informal settlement that has been set up. It's got human beings, 500 human beings. They need food. Where do they get food? They get it from 20 kilometers away. I'm literally just going to bring the food here, maybe add R1. It's not rocket science. So with import export, I'm listening to what you're saying about the doctor of, there's a huge gap for anyone who's going to be watching this. There's a huge gap in translating certain content. You could literally become a multimillionaire just translating existing content into another language. Adding a different pigmentation, different hair products for different people. With import-export, people traveled or people came into the country and they brought in Italian cuisine, pizza, pasta. They didn't invent anything. They just brought it in a space it's never been consumed. They brought in sushi. They brought in hamburgers. Sometimes with travel, if you look at the West African cuisine that's becoming big, and Ethiopian cuisine that's coming big now in South Africa, sometimes travel just needs you to do that. Just go and see things that they don't have at home that you think are cool, taste nice. Just take them home. You don't have to manufacture anything and you make money. That's wealth creation.
There's nothing new under the sun. You know, it's what you're saying. Everyone can create wealth. And I also want to debunk this thing of I'm too poor to make money.
Yeah.
You know, to have one cabbage, to raise one cabbage costs 5 rand. Okay. If you let that cabbage grow and you sell it, you're going to get 20 rand. Okay. So let's say I'm that too poor person.
Sure.
I'm going to grow 4 cabbages. Okay. At the end of my 4 cabbages, my 20 rand is now 80 rand. Okay. And let me grow a 5th one so that I can eat. Okay. So there's a method to the madness of creating wealth.
Yeah.
All I need to know is, how much cabbage do I need to eat to survive?
Yeah.
How much extra do I need to have to sell?
Yeah.
Suddenly, I'm now creating wealth from nothing except God's great earth. And every 4 months, I start a new cabbage. Same thing with sweet potato. So we can't keep leaning to the whole excuse that I need capital to start a business. I need this, I need that. You can take it back to that level. And I think
you actually just need customers to start a business. If you don't have 5 rand, get a customer who wants cabbage, who will give you 20 rand. Now you've got 4 times 5. You can plant 4 cabbages and they only wanted 1.
That's it. And that's what investment is. Putting in money, letting it vest, which means giving it time, and it returns to you. It's simple. But we just don't get we don't get it, Pen. We're not listening to it. We're not watching it. It's not interesting enough, you know? And Now we're reaching a point where 2022 has been a really tough year economically for everyone. Everyone's got less money. Only now do people start having those conversations. Again, I'll take it back to Commonwealth. Stokvel. It's simply a group of people putting money together for a common purpose. 2023, what I would like the woke or the black people who no longer want to be in the chains of bondage, where their eyes have been stolen and their ears been filled with nonsense and their nostrils breathing dirty air whilst their tongues speak vulgar language with kneecaps which don't function because you've been prevented from walking, yet your reproductive organs work very well because you like to reproduce. Because why? They told us that's what we're good at, procreation. Why?
Amen, Mfundisi.
Why did they tell us procreation is what black people are good for? Because they wanted to fill a slave plantation with little niglets. I wanted niglets.
Hallelujah.
So at night, I give you alcohol so that you get inebriated, so that you can copulate and give me niglets, lots of them. And when I'm bored as a master, I'll come play with you and create another race.
Jeez.
But I don't see that race. It's still a niglet. We need to take it seriously, Pen. We need to take this conversation seriously of how do we take black people out of poverty using black people. Kiyosaki said, use other people's money to make money. Let's create money with only our blackness, without them. And they had it in America for a while. There was a time between the 60s and the 80s when black people were in existence.
They were still voting Republican back then.
But you know what happened? America is a very interesting example because it's an example of a black nation which was uprooted. And there's a time when black people were creating their own wealth in their own communities. And they had Harlem, for example, black barber shop. They had black banks, hey?
Yeah.
They could live entire lives in a black world.
Yeah.
And then guess what happened? They saw, there's money there, Moose. Why don't we get on in there? Came and destroyed it, and they called it regeneration.
Sure.
Okay? We need that in South Africa right now. In Africa.
So I did a Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting and Economics. Economics being the studying of allocating scarce resources. I then went to do my honors in accounting at the University of Johannesburg. My undergrad was at Rhodes. Lot of Zimbabweans at Rhodes.
Rhodes.
So I guess my life was always going to end up in Zim with Zimbabweans. The Rhodesians. Shout out to Cecil John Rhodes. I went to work in banking for Absa and Standard Bank. And one of the mistakes I made, and I'm glad you mentioned Kiyosaki. In 2006, in my third year, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Huge mistake from a psychological perspective, because a lot of people read the book as a personal finance book and probably the highest selling personal finance book. For me, it was a psychologically transformative book because number one, Kiyosaki changed the way I see money. And just with that on its own, it started a whole chain reaction of just seeing different things around tax, the economy, how politicians work. Kiyosaki puts you on many books. The Richest Man in Babylon, E-Myth, I think he speaks about as well. Then I started consuming The Ascent of Money, Neil Ferguson, of which there's a documentary on YouTube. Obviously, I read The Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith back in varsity days, very thick literature for anyone who's really bored and struggles to sleep at night. I read a lot of these books and they kind of corrupted my mind. Having worked in banking and how things work, and you spoke about inflation, I started thinking about interest speculation. I want to know what corrupted your mind. Having worked in a bank in Zim, having gone to work in finance in the UK, how do you, when we met, you were still teaching people about money, finance.
I still teach people about money and finance.
How did your mind get corrupted
I
to
got
what you're saying now?
corrupted when I was winning little glass awards for financial planning with other Muzungus. But when
and
then when I go outside and I look at their lifestyle and I look at mine, not same boss, blew me away. why am I doing this? Why am I as good as they are, but I cannot enjoy the fruits of their lifestyle? Then I realized the number one culprit is the melanin in my skin. The number two culprit is the foreign surname which I carry. The number three culprit, I've been trying to convince too many Negroids to do the right thing. And
you're an activist.
I'm not an activist. I was.
Yes,
I was an activist. Okay. I wanted a financial planning empire where I train hundreds of soldiers and we go and conquer the world and educate and empower. Only to realize they didn't want none of that.
Sure.
You know, they'll watch an episode, they enjoy what you say, but no one actually goes and does anything.
Of course.
You know, so part of the whole wealth creation narrative is the need to be selfish a bit. Okay? What am I saying? You need to get onto your own island and you will be ridiculed and you will be labeled different. But it's the different people who make it. The entire financial services industry as it is currently defined is built around creating capital appreciation for the few.
That's how the game works.
But true wealth is income. Hence, those who know what money is will tell you it's not assets or their capital value. It's how much income, or if you look at it from an accounting point of view, it's looking at your money flow. You know?
That goes against the Forbes and Bloomberg rich list because all they focus on is balance sheet.
Balance sheet.
Not cash flow.
Look, money that is not in my hands is not money, guys. It's not. Look what happened to all the guys who are holding Bitcoin 2 months ago.
And Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk both lost $100 billion in a year.
Overnight.
Paper money, just.
But Mark Zuckerberg and Musk earn income every day.
Cash flow.
Cash flow.
I want to interrupt you.
That's why they say when you value a company which is worth nothing, they use discounted cash flow. Cash flow is what your worth is. Hence, auntie is richer than you, probably.
She has
because
cash.
She has cash.
You have debt.
You have debt. Who auntie is living in your house, eating your food, wearing your clothes when you're not there, sleeping in your bed when you're not there, and going home with cash. Meanwhile, you can't send 3,000 Rand e-wallet. If you want to know the value of your network, Penuel, tell me 5 people you can call right now who will give you 100,000 Rand without questions, without guarantees. What's the highest value someone lend you in your personal friend network? That's your worth. What's the highest value which a bank will give you in your financial network? That's how the world sees you. That's how valuable you are to the world. Yeah. Many people will be shocked if they do that small exercise of who can I call right now and ask for money? How much can I ask for? If you're still dealing number 2,000, 3,000, seriously guys, we need to catch a wake up. If the bank is still telling you they'll only give you 100,000, means that when you're worth 100,000 Rand pen, they will not risk more than 100,000 on you. Insult. I'll be insulted. I'm now all about, I want to be something. And part of me saying I want to be something is about discovery. What I can do. How can I create income? How can I create wealth? Because I need to leave a legacies for my legatees who are my children. I want to create an inheritance. I want my children to enjoy a usufruct of assets which they were born into, which they don't know how they came. And I'm going to do it because I've made up my mind to say, look, the system is broken. And I would rather say, how can we create a system that we can all enjoy? And the only way you can do that is by creating income. The cabbages we spoke about, income.
When I read the Robert Kiyosaki story, one of the epiphanies I had, I think last year or the year before, which blew my mind was, number one, of all the books Robert Kiyosaki has sold, of which I've bought a lot of them, I've since given them away or sold them. Probably 99.9% of the people that have read the books will never be able to implement and use them. since you were speaking about building an empire of soldiers. The big part of the epiphany was realizing that if you look at Robert Kiyosaki's story, he almost didn't make it. He had the privilege of being taught by a rich dad at a very young age. So his life was meant to be made. And even in that story, after being taught, he still finished school. He still went to the military. He still went to get a job. And it was only when visiting his rich dad again in his older years, his rich dad said, number one, go learn sales, where he went to go and sell, I think, for Xerox. And number two, go and attend property seminars. And at one of those property seminars, he didn't drop off when other people did. And that's what changed his life. And I'm like, this guy literally, if he didn't make those decisions, even after the advantage, he may have never gotten to where he got to. So you can expose people, give them the books, make them watch the documentaries, give them the qualifications, show them the rich people, make them read financial statements, and they still won't make the decision to fundamentally change their life, which scared me. Now, for you, this is my concern that you're raising. You're very right that the money game is rigged. It's one of the saddest things I realized, but I've come to accept it. You spoke about something which I normally quantify as you cannot be financially free unless someone else is in financial bondage. When you speak about Commonwealth, when you speak about black people, number one, why would you want the whole of black Africans to unite? Because white people aren't united. White Jewish people and white Afrikaners are all in smaller groups. Number two, if black Africans are going to become strong and wealthy, at whose expense? Who then becomes the financially in bondage?
Look, I think, for me, remember I said I'm now selfish a bit.
Okay.
You need to be a bit selfish. And what I'm saying is get into networks, as you said, of small groups where you look after yourselves and you create income. It's
like Cyril and Patrice. Why you speak about Cyril and Patrice? What? That's so wrong.
It's not a situation where we all can be rich. It's impossible. Okay?
It's impossible.
We all can't be the same.
Are you speaking about from a money or from a nature perspective?
From a nature perspective, we can't all be the same. Okay?
Okay.
So that's why I say, before you start walking your wealth journey, the first thing I do as a financial planner is say, what is your goal? What is your ideal lifestyle? Remember when I said close your eyes and imagine your house?
Sure.
When you get that house, you're content. I can come and describe a 3-story house, and that doesn't make my dream any more wrong than yours.
Yeah.
But it's mine.
It's not mine.
Problem is most black people don't have a dream. They don't have vision. They don't have an ideal goal.
They have a goal for the festive season.
No. The goal we have is whatever we see on TV, we think we can be. We can't.
Yeah.
You'll never be Oprah Winfrey, even if you watch every one of our episodes. You understand? You need to realize, set your goal. What is contentment to you? How much income is okay for you? As you said, you're a minimalist. So you can say 10,000 rand, I'm okay.
Sure.
What is it? And I call that the poverty escape velocity. The poverty escape velocity is based on your goal. My goal is that I will always make 20,000 rand forever. Then the poverty escape velocity becomes how I can create passive income to generate 20,000 without ever working again. I've escaped. You can only escape if you're held in bondage. Right now, we are all in bondage of poverty because until you have a vision, you're in bondage. Until you're working towards a goal, you're in bondage. Whether you like it or not, you're just coasting along, but you're in bondage because your own popcorn of a brain has not yet popped. When it's popped, you now have a house, you now have a car, it can be a hat, it can be whatever, but you have vision. Once you have a vision, you can now plot a way to get to there. Remember, my vision is not based on Elon Musk. It's not based on Zuckerberg. It's based on me and my own personal experiences and saying, I can't do this again. And then when I'm there, I'm content. And then I can set a new goal. Problem is, we have no vision. We have no goals. Our goals tend to be, what's Pen driving? Okay. Yeah, he's also got a podcast, so I must drive that. Why? I don't know what your daddy left you. I don't know what you do at night. While I'm snoozing and sleeping, you could be working, writing books, doing podcasts. preparing your future.
Sure.
So, number one thing for the viewer today, what is your goal? And you should have a goal. And I can prove it to you. If you've got a goal tomorrow, put it down on a piece of paper. Wherever you get dressed every morning, stick it there. That's why you see every success story of financial emancipation or wealth creation is based on someone saying, I set my goal and I achieved it. How do they know they achieved it? Because it was set at the beginning. Hence, they know that I have achieved it. Every book, personal finance, Susie Omen, whoever will tell you that you only know you have arrived if you knew where you were going. How do you arrive if you don't know where you are going? John Vuli Gate. Where's the gate? Where? That's what we are as black people. We are guilty of not having goals and then buying that narrative that we are just studs for procreation, which is why the black race is so guilty of financial infidelity and sexually transmitted poverty, sexually transmitted debt, STD.
But you sound like a white person right now.
I do, because
then how do black Africans liberate themselves if people like yourself are speaking financial emancipation, passive income, which cannot come unless you're oppressing other people financially? How do you achieve both at the same time?
You cannot see your blackness until you see yourself as how they see us.
But is this the goal, what you're saying, to be selfish and to be financially emancipated on your own?
The goal,
or in a small group?
The goal for me is that everyone who's in my community is okay.
It doesn't matter what happens to others.
The other community guys, I tried, Ben, I tried. Right.
So you don't blame the West?
I don't blame the West.
Small island you spoke about.
There was not one big village. South Africa was not one big village. It was many little villages.
Yeah.
And they were not worried about what's happening in the next village, but they worried about theirs. Right now, we've reduced our villages into huts. Hence, we're struggling. People could function as a small village because there was a multitude of huts with common purpose. Okay? So all I'm saying is, Pen, stop living in your townhouse in the north and struggling there with your oros and bread, pretending like you're living large. Get a few of your oros drinking, bread eating, expensive car driving, renting people in the north and say, guys, how can we buy a road of houses, Ekasi, and all live large and have a barbecue every Friday at the end of the street? Are you rich? No. You're all comfortable, you're fed well, and you're living your reality. All I'm saying is stop buying into this reality of what you're supposed to be. Create a vision. I'm okay with that vision, of me, my sisters and my in-laws. We are all okay financially. We feed off each other and no one is struggling. I'm okay with that.
Isn't this what black leaders in Africa have done?
Black leaders have done it with your money. Yeah, that's what they've done. But
you spoke about other people's money.
No. Other people's money is I sold your cabbage. I get you were hungry. Did I tell you to eat the cabbage? I sold your cabbage you wanted. I didn't steal it from you.
But
do not equate money which is made legitimately through trade with money that is a result of theft and thuggery.
Who defines the difference?
The difference is money and theft is someone else's pain. Are there any tears?
That's what I was asking about pain and passive income. Okay. You feel you're in bondage?
Listen.
You feel you have to wake up every day?
My cabbage here. Here's my cabbage. It's growing. I'm putting water, putting fertilizer, sunshine. It's growing. Are you crying? No. There's your cabbage. Okay. So the difference. Sorry about that. So the difference there is I took your cabbage. Are you happy?
No.
But were you okay when I was growing my own?
Sure.
That's what it should be.
But who defines theft? Because the cabbage example is easy. When we speak land, minerals, when we speak the tax coffers, etc. If I'm a black leader and I'm entrusted with this, you made the example of Mansa Musa, and I personally have an issue with that story. Number one, because I don't know if it's really real. I think it's a pacification for black people to escape, like Barack Obama. You had a black president. Secondly, you've got Muammar Gaddafi, you had Robert Mugabe, you've got Paul Kagame now. You've had certain leaders that have been accused of being wealthy off the money of their people. Muammar Gaddafi had gold apparently, but it wasn't his, it was for the people. So what if Mansa Musa's wealth was not his, but the wealth of the people of Mali? You know, that can become another conversation. My issue is just who defines theft and who defines pain? Because yes, it's passive income. Yes, the person who's working for you chose to come to the interview. Yes, they chose to work. But isn't it because we said the system is broken?
So you're now going into an area of culture.
Okay.
And our own social norms. Our Ubuntu. We've lost our cultural guide in terms of how we conduct ourselves and what we deem is right and what is wrong. The only person who defines right and wrong is us as a community. But if you're defining right and wrong under a set of rules which you didn't draft yourselves, you end up in prison.
Sure.
Hence, the Roman Dutch law system, which South Africa enjoys and uses to lock up anyone who wrongs it, it's a Roman Dutch law system. We had our own African traditional systems. And as you are saying, those are the things we need to resuscitate and review as to why they are wrong or right and how best we can apply them for our own blackness.
But why is it black? You speak about Commonwealth, you speak about my community. Why does it have to be racial?
Okay, it's not racial. If you're watching this, I speak blackness because I'm black.
Sure.
If you are yellow, call it yellowness.
No, I'm asking for you in particular.
No. I'm just saying it.
Sure.
Blackness is because that's the color I can relate to because that's what I am. Hence, if you're watching this video and you're white, apply it to your whiteness. Apply it to your yellow.
But why must it be racial?
It's not racial. I'm just saying apply it to your common grouping. My common grouping, I cannot... look, dude, I've been in this black jacket of a skin for 46 years.
Sure.
Dude, I feel it every day.
Sure.
So I cannot deny it. Okay?
Sure.
Therefore, my point of first correction is the injustices which I have suffered because of wearing the skin jacket. You know? If I could have done, I would have done a Kanyimbao many years ago.
Sure.
And straightened my hair and then gone and won my awards and been rich.
Sure.
You understand? But I am not. So I have to face my reality. This is who I am.
You raised your frustrations with black people a couple of times during our conversation. And you mentioned that you got private schooling. You mentioned the privilege of driving a nice car at age 18, working in the United Kingdom, which many white people around the world would love to go and work in finance in the UK, which tells me that you've been relatively privileged. But it seems like you, like a Kanye, have had so much privilege, but you want more. And you attribute your lack of more with your race. And I'm just trying to figure out, do you not share commonalities with other white, Indian, Chinese people who have had struggles? Theirs might not be racial. They may be gender-based, or they may be nationality-based, or they may be whatever. Like a white person is frustrated like you because he can't get a PE deal, but you can.
Look, everybody's got their frustrations, eh? And I was not privileged, dude. To get a job in Moorgate in the city of London, I went for 89 interviews. 89 interviews. Different places. You can imagine how many times I heard no. So if you call going for 89 interviews, being told no, and then getting a job on your 90th, privilege. Okay, let's call it privilege. I got in. And then when I got in, if you call training people to be your manager privilege, then it's privilege. If you call earning less because of the jacket you are wearing and the surname you have privilege, then it's privilege.
So black South Africans have privilege that white people don't have because of BEE and their ID card.
Well, yes, there's a few who have enjoyed that privilege. Let's not lie. But how many? How many? If you call surviving on a social granted 350 rand privilege, then call it privilege. It's not.
You know, when I hear you speaking about your interviews and your experiences, again, going back to travel, you travel and you speak to so many different people across South Africa.
Let me cut you off. I did not choose to travel, guys. I did not choose to leave the land of my birth to go and struggle and be treated like a second or third class citizen in another country by choice. I did not wake up and go to private school dreaming of being that in someone else's country. I dreamt of being successful in the land of my birth. My dream was stolen away by people like me. That's the same narrative which we all face. Our dreams are being stolen, yet we watch. So, yes, I want us to travel by choice, not as a result of becoming an economic refugee, because if I don't travel, I die.
But do you realize, Gerald, when you spend time with white Afrikaners, they utter the exact same words. They didn't leave Europe by choice, and they came to South Africa to become second-class citizens to the British. This is what I'm saying about travel, that when you start traveling and you meet people like me, I'm in Johannesburg, and I'm not here because I wanted to be here. I'm here because there's a better life here. And you start realizing that there are certain classes, certain experiences. There are people that have been oppressed. Those are facts.
No doubt.
Based on race, based on gender, based on nationality. I mean, as a black Zimbabwean who works hard, who's trying to liberate black Africans, who's trying to help, you will get bashed by even ordinary black South Africans that you're trying to help.
Yeah, definitely.
Because of your nationality, even though you guys wear the same jacket.
No. In the same office, working for the same slave master.
Sure.
We oppress each other.
Sure.
And then there's a different social type of injustice. Ask my wife, interview her one day.
Sure.
Wearing a surname when you are as 100% more South African than anybody.
Sure.
But you just chose the wrong dude to fall in love with.
Sure.
You know? She'll tell you about how she's been abused and what we've gone through at Home Affairs, until she then speaks her language and they're like, but if you spoke all along, why have you been waiting 8 hours? Would have helped you a long time ago.
Yeah.
And she's like, I sat here the whole day because you told us to queue. And I'm following the law.
Sure.
I don't want to be corrupt. That's corruption right there.
Sure.
You understand? So that's how endemic we are now in terms of accepting things which are just morally wrong.
I'm going back to your idea of commonwealth, your idea of finding your community, your idea of being selfish, speaking about your legacy and legatees. And my question was just purely around, why does it have to be race-based? Why can't Gerald, with a white guy who identifies with your story and a Chinese lady who identifies with your story, why can't you guys have your own commonwealth where you guys share the same values, you work hard, you want to uplift and empower and educate, but you want to be okay? Because you've realized most other people, regardless of race, clearly don't care.
Yes. No. I'm doing business with white people.
Sure.
Okay. And I'm happy. I'm okay. Okay. But those white people know I'm black.
Sure.
I deal with this thing of race. First meeting. Mzungu, can you see I'm black? Yes. Mzungu, can you see I'm Mzungu? Yeah. Okay. This is how Mzungus and blacks usually treat each other. Are we going to do that? No. Shake hands. Let's do business.
Sure.
The problem is most of us walk into these relationships and pretend that we don't see it.
Sure.
I want someone to see it. They said, doing business with Afrikaners is actually nice because if they don't like you, they don't even waste time.
Sure.
Yeah. Apartheid really conditioned them properly. But if they don't like blacks, they don't like blacks.
Sure.
But if they're okay with you, they're okay with you. So I'm just trying to say, because our lowest common denominator, if I'm sitting in Matatiele,
sure,
in the Eastern Cape, is we're all black here. There's no white person inside to do business with. Let's work together. But you work with whoever sees you.
Do they become part of your commonwealth?
Yes. If I'm partners with you, we're eating together from the same pie.
Sure.
Commonwealth. It's fine. But just all I'm saying is let's choose it. Let's create it. It's a journey, Pen. I mean, I remember, when I first met you and hearing some of your views, and I was like, this guy is crazy, he's mad, he smokes weed all day, something wrong with him, you know. But as I have over the years seen and experienced everything you spoke about when we first met 4 or 5 years ago, I've been like, no, this is vision.
This guy's not crazy. He's not smoking weed.
No, but you're not good. But not yet.
This guy is God. No, we'll give it another 4 or 5 years. Don't worry.
But the point is simply, we need more people who just question the norm. And questioning the norm doesn't mean we're breaking it.
Yeah.
Or that we're going to change it. But we just need to be comfortable with how everything is. And I think that is it. That's really my message for today, to say, set your goal. Whatever you are, black child, yellow child, white child. On your wardrobe or your mirror or your dresser, wherever you look at yourself before you go to work, put a vision there. I dream of this by then.
And be exact, be clear. Know exactly where you're going.
No. There's no approximate dream.
Yeah.
Exact.
Sure.
And then start working towards that. Okay? And then to work towards that, you're going to need people around you who are going to help you to get to your destination.
Sure.
Work with them. When you get to your destination, thank them and reward the people who helped you to get there. That's another thing.
Yes.
We're very short on thank yous.
100%.
As people.
Real thank yous.
Real thank yous.
Yes.
Real
Ubuntu thank yous.
Ubuntu thank yous of, you know what, if I had not met you, I would not be a better person.
Yes.
And sometimes just words of edification and encouragement.
Yeah.
We all think thank you must be money or coke money. No, it's simply thank you for making me realize I hadn't thought about that.
Sure.
And that's what we need to do. When you reach your goal, set another goal. Repeat. And when you've achieved it, teach someone how to do it. Teach someone else how to do it. The reason why I love financial literacy is simply, I just challenge people. Most people don't come to see me again because I challenge them too much. They don't come back.
You're a tough coach.
I'm a tough coach.
To achieve the goals.
But I love the few people I've got, because I know that I've met versions of myself at 20 who will not live a life which I'm living now. And I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that. But now I'm driven by family. Therefore, family is a core value of mine. I'm driven by my children because I don't want them to be economic refugees.
Sure.
I don't want my children to end up traveling because of necessity.
Sure.
My daughter is going to be a pilot, and she's going to fly a plane because she set the destination and she wants to land it there.
Sure.
Not because she's escaping greedy guys who are stealing your destiny. We don't want that for her. And it's the same thing for any South African right now. You know, there's good, there's bad South Africans, there's good, there's bad Zimbabweans. You cannot put everyone into one basket.
100%.
Okay? Even in Zimbabwe, there's good and bad. There's jails in Zimbabwe.
Sure.
If all Zimbabweans were criminals, then the country is a jail. Okay? So we need to just open our eyes and emancipate. I had on Twitter the other day, someone, boom, Zimbabweans go back, wada. And then I was like, okay, what about my children? What are they? What does that make them? Their mother born Jabulani, Soweto. The roughest of the rough growing up. So are you going to deny them their birthright because their father happens to be from another country? Or are we going to create a new country for them? So these are some of the things which people with loose tongues don't realize. There's an entire second, third generation of people who've been created out of necessity. Let's face our reality. The enemy is the person who is stopping you from knowing your financial worth. Because you don't know your own personal net asset value, you'll never be able to know your poverty escape velocity. You'll never be able to set a goal. You will work for 40 years and you will finish working, and you will walk into a retirement annuity which some idiot sold you and never told you that it's useless when you get there. And you'll have 40 years of regret. What I'm saying is, let's take control. Let's stop being the victims of the economy, of the lack. And no, doesn't mean everyone must drive a Mercedes, but I understanding there's people who've never had a pair of shoes. For them, achievement is I'm wearing shoes.
Sure.
Hence, for someone out there, driving a first car is an achievement of major proportion. Owning a home, a brick structure. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that a home of bricks is the only home that exists. Those are some of the alternatives we need to start asking ourselves. You know, if you decide, Penuel, you want to live in a hut, traditional rendezvous.
Sure.
Do I see you as any lesser of a human being? Because that's the life you have chosen.
Sure.
And unfortunately, societal norms right now are based on Western standards which we cannot achieve. Our real discussion should be giving a call to King Charles III and saying, can we have a look at the Royal Mint and see how many of these gold bars are embossed with origin South Africa? And let's talk. Let's have a chat over tea about those gold bars. Let's have a chat about the British Museum of Natural History, which has got all these artifacts, which are our heritage. Things of Shaka sitting there. Let's have a chat. Go to the French government, the Francophone countries, have the same chat. Because until we have, and they will run away from the chat. They don't want to have it. They don't want to have it. But
the thing is, they also won't have it with you. They'll have it with your leaders.
They won't have it.
Who are their friends?
Yeah, they have it all. But that's the thing. But then it goes to leaders. Who do you choose? It's an election year next year. We all have choice, eh? We all have choice. We can, and you start by changing your cell. And that's how I'll end today in terms of saying, let's find your cell. And how your economic cell can function is simply have centers of excellence in your cell. Imagine yourself as a Commonwealth village and saying, what's my hut? My hut is the financial planning hut. Therefore, I need a doctor. Therefore, I need a lawyer. Therefore, I need an accountant. Therefore, I need someone who's going to do food for us. Therefore, I need a mechanic because we've got cars. I need an electrician or a builder because we're going to stay somewhere. And let's work together in that cell. Once you have one cell, a second cell will form. And a third. It's the whole spiderweb economy in capitalist nigger.
Chika
Onyani. It's there. As you said, everything to create wealth is there. There is nothing new under the sun. It's all been done. But it's what you said, implementation. How many people are actually going to get off their behinds and actually say, I want to do this. I think I can. I believe I can. You know, remember that rhyme which Avazungu's taught at, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. Of the train going up the mountain, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. Then when you get to the top, I know I could when you're going downhill.
Sure.
They're teaching you life. Those Wazungus are not stupid. They went, hey, it's good to be in their classroom, because they didn't see me as the black child, like, okay. State secrets being shared right there. They are training white kids to understand that life is a journey and sometimes it's tough.
Sure.
But it gets easier. And the black schools were not doing, I think I can, I think I can. They were doing different rhymes. You see? And it's all up. That's part of the education. Because if you look at the development of a human being, the first 6 years define your entire life. My wife is a psychologist, so she's taught me. Could you know? First 6 years, potty training. That thing of you saying, hey, you mess up everywhere, you dirty futu ya nyanyisa. Are you understanding? You're teaching that person shame. All the shameful adults, they had problems, potty training probably. People who struggle with shame and self-consciousness. It's all rooted there. So to me, it's that kind of knowledge to say, let's get her here. She teaches us that. Therefore, when I know next time another one she taught me was a child crying. When you say this child doesn't cry, he is a good child. Hey, problems in life are coming for that child, because it means that child has learned to cry so much and realized no one comes to pick me up, so I'm a good child. Crying is a call for help. When you pick up the child knows the world's a safe place. Someone cares for me. A child who cries until they stop crying, until they stop crying completely, is going to have problems in later life. I don't want to paraphrase or misquote. All I'm saying is we have the knowledge. Bazungus messed up when they let us in. We've been in their classrooms. We've been in their meetings. We know what they're up to. Let's come up with an alternative plan to build our own system. And that's not to say we're fighting them. They're not the enemy. But it's just simply say, based on the pool of knowledge we have, is this best for us? Which is the most popular and best-selling financial product in South Africa, Pen? For blacks.
We have to close the conversation. Otherwise, we'll go for another 2 hours.
The most popular...
It's probably funeral cover.
Why? Because you ain't good at nothing else but dying. And they make a lot of money on that. But why have they never come up and said, do a black retirement annuity, where your whole family contributes towards retirement so that everyone's okay? Then what? Your family will be okay. Then you won't need us again. Nah, can't have that. Cancel that product.
But that's the gap for you, like you said, with the UK black doctor, to go and create those for your people.
That's the gap for me. And that's the gap for me to find partners and people who believe in such ideas.
Sure.
Because we need to get together. Because everybody, as you said, who has created wealth needed someone else. You needed a customer. You needed a consumer. You needed capital.
When we sit again, when you come back, I want to challenge a lot of the things you've raised. Number one, I personally have an issue with the first 6 to 7 years ECD, early childhood development. I don't agree with that theory. I parent different. So the concept of children crying and calling for help, I have slightly different thoughts around those.
So when your children are crying, they're happy?
We'll discuss it then when you come back. I'm very thankful for you coming through and sharing your thoughts, especially as someone in finance, in money coaching, in financial planning. I think it's so fundamentally important. And the passion that we obviously saw and how you feel about, especially black people, liberating themselves from financial bondage, educating themselves. It really means a lot to myself and hopefully to all of the viewers. You asked a lot of questions. You know, you want answers. You think we need alternative systems. I'd like to think I have a lot of the answers that you'd like answered. And I'm hoping when we sit again, we can maybe chew over some of those answers that I have for you. But Gerald, thank you so much for coming through, and I'm looking forward to having you again soon.
Awesome. Thanks. At least I got a second date.
Easy.